Hi, third grade. Today we are going to begin learning about food chains. So we're going to start off with a question, and I want you to turn and talk with your partner to answer this. How do organisms get the food they need to live? Take a minute and turn and talk with your partner to answer that. How do organisms get the food they need to live? How does this bear get food? How does this fish get food? How does this buffalo, bird, or even these plants down here or these trees, how do they get food? Turn and talk. Plants and animals get food in different ways. Remember that green plants use energy from the sun to make sugar. A green plant is called a producer. A producer is an organism that can make its own food. All of these green plants are considered producers because they make their own food from the sunlight up in the sky. But most organisms, such as this tiger, they can't make their own food. Because they can't make their own food, they're called consumers. Consumers hunt, gather, and store food because they cannot make their own. I like to think about it as they consume everything. They consume their food. Can you think of any other organisms that are considered consumers or that hunt, gather, and store food because we can't make our own? Turn and talk with your partner and see what other ideas you guys can come up with. Different consumers eat different kinds of food. Remember that the frog and you eat different foods, but we both gather and hunt foods. Some consumers, such as rabbits or deer and elephants, they eat only plants, but they're still hunting and gathering those plants, so they're still considered consumers. Other consumers, such as hawks, snakes, or this lion right here, they eat only meat or other animals, but yet they're still considered a consumer along with the deer that only eat plants. Both of these are considered consumers. They're consuming their food. Still, other consumers such as bears, foxes, and raccoons eat both plants and animals. They eat both. What about you guys? Do you eat plants, animals, or both? Organisms depend on each other for food. If we follow the red arrows, we can see that the flower or the producer is eaten by the caterpillar, which is considered a consumer. The caterpillar is then eaten by the frog, which is also considered a consumer. The frog is eaten by the snake, which is also a consumer, and the snake is eaten by the owl. All the animals that are eating, they're consuming, so they're considered consumers. The grass, the caterpillar, the frog, the snake, and the owl are all part of a food chain. A food chain is the way food passes from one organism to another. The grass makes sugars. The caterpillar eats the grass. The frog eats the caterpillar. The snake eats the frog. And finally, the owl eats the snake. All food chains begin with producers. A plant is a producer. Remember that plants use energy from the sun. I wish there was a sun right here. To produce sugar. All consumers depend on producers for food. Animals are consumers. Some consumers, such as the mouse, eat plants. Other consumers, such as the snake and owl, are called predators. A predator is an animal that captures and eats other animals. Animals that are captured and eaten by other animals are called prey. Let's look at these two pictures right here. I see a snake about to eat a mouse and a lion chasing after a zebra. Turn and talk with your partner. Which one is considered the predator, or the animal that's going to capture and eat the other animal? And which one is considered the prey, or the animal that's going to be eaten? Every living thing, producer, predator, or prey, is a link in a food chain. Food chains are found in the soil, on land, and in the water. It's important to remember that a food chain is just a big circle. The energy gets passed starting from the sun to the grass. The grass starts with all the energy, and that energy is passed all the way through the food chain as one consumer consumes each other. And then finally, when the hawk dies, its body goes back to the grass where the energy is passed to. So then it starts all over again, and the energy just keeps circling around and around. And that is the story of the food chain.